Welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish. Today, my guest is Dawn Meyer, and this is going to be really fun. But before I get to introducing her, I want to remind you all to go over and take our Promote, Profit, Publish quiz at www.promoteprofitpublishquiz.com and find out where you're at with monetizing whatever project you're doing today. So I mentioned Dawn Meyer is a former NASA rocket scientist who uses coaching, energy healing, and access consciousness to do the same thing for people that she used to aim to achieve with rockets, helping them to escape their earthbound constrictions and elevate them to the next level. She assists them to bring more ease and joy to their lives by helping them discover that they have more choices and possibility for changing what isn't working in their lives than they ever thought they had possible. Dawn frees them to live the life they're here to live. So Dawn and I just got back from a business acceleration quiz, and I asked her to do this interview or just kind of chat because what she presented there is a new program that she is promoting in for now that's going to be releasing in January, and it's how to get yourself unstuck. And for book people, a lot of times we start writing that book and all of a sudden we get stuck. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Dawn, welcome.
Hi, Juliet. It's great to be on again.
Well, thank you. If you guys remember, Dawn was on back in, I believe, July or August, talking about the accessories she did for her book. Do you want to talk a little bit about your book?
Yeah, so my book is called The Gratitude for Life Journal. And then it also has a deck of cards that goes with it. And it's about helping you to appreciate all the things in your life that you may not think are actually contributing to your life, but really are. And really diving into that and being present with that gratitude so that you can start drawing in those things that you would really like to have in your life. Because having gratitude really does make you a magnet for the things that you would like to have. And so, yes, shamelessly promoting myself, we could get my book and cards on iampurpledawn.com/store, S-T-O-R-E, and you'll see them all listed in the store.
Very cool, very cool. So Dawn and I on the cruise were talking about, I have this belief that when writer's block occurs within your book, that it is the universe making you aware that it's not going to let you go any further until you become aware of the problem at hand. And a lot of, I noticed in myself and a lot of healers, we teach the thing that we need to heal the most. So I want Dawn to share a little bit about some things to get you unstuck and the energy that you bring to the book, how the readers feel that.
Yeah, so when I get stuck when I'm working on a book or any project, I start asking questions. And as you know, Shannon, who was the person who put together the cruise, has called me the Queen of Questions. And it is that I just ask questions about everything because questions open up the energy. They let the universe know that you're open to something different, something new showing up. So when you're getting stuck in writing your book, start asking questions. Like you said, what is it that's creating this for me? What lesson is it that perhaps the universe is presenting to me that I'm avoiding or ignoring? A lot of times we pretend those lessons don't exist.
I think that's called denial. Is that right?
I believe that is a clinical term for it. and and just start telling the universe, I would like to really get beyond this time. What is it that I need to learn? What is it that I need to do or stop doing? Sometimes it's those things that we really need to stop doing that are holding us back because we keep thinking that I have to keep doing this, I have to keep doing this, and maybe you don't. Maybe it's something that it's time for you to let go of it. So those are all good questions. And if you're really stuck, maybe go do something else for a little while. What is it that would get my creative juices flowing again? And maybe it's simply going outside for 10, 15 minutes and being in nature and let whatever it is that's blocking you just start to kind of dissipate so that you can, when you come in, you can start anew with where you are and start letting the realizations and the awarenesses start flowing again.
That's really great. So I believe, and it's just my personal belief, that every book we write is a healing journey. We write it for a reason. There's something that has to heal. But along with that means that the energy we write the book with becomes transparent to the reader as well. How do we overcome things like that? We're in the midst of healing.
Overcome having your energy be in the book?
Well, your energy is always going to be in the book, but how do we like heal what we are working with and still make it a book that is transparent and readable for the reader?
I don't know that you can ever have your energy be transparent in the book, because sometimes that's the whole point of the book, is for them to heal the same thing that you're healing. And that's why you're writing the book. That's why the book has shown up, because it's something that needs to be out there for other people as well as for you. Now, if you're really getting bogged down in some of the negative things that you're putting in the book, it's time to stop and look at that and say, okay, what is it that I really need to let go of here so that I don't push that energy out into the book? And it may be that you need to rewrite that section or add something different to it so that the reader doesn't get stuck in it too. Because sometimes it may take them down that same rabbit hole that you're going down, and that may not be what's best for them. It may be that whatever it is that got you out of that is what you actually need to put into the book. So if there's some lesson that you learned and some technique or some realization or awareness that came to you, maybe that's what needs to be in the book, so that the reader actually says, oh yeah, I'm starting down this path, and then they come across what it is that you did to get out of it, and that helps them get out of it too.
That's really great, because we actually get several books a year in the door that are supposed to be self-help books that when we read them, it's, I hate to say this, but it's an angry mess.
Mm-hmm.
And you can actually tell that this person hasn't resolved. I'm gonna make a joke here, and hopefully this author won't. He wrote this book years ago, but we had an author come in who wrote a book about procrastination. I'm sorry, about perfection, and how she had overcome perfection. And on the 23rd correction in the book, like the 23rd rerouting of the book, my staff was screaming like, this woman has no right writing a book about perfection. So how do we avoid bringing that energy? I mean, do they stop and do the exercises to get unstuck, and how do they become aware that they're doing it?
Well, I would say certainly allow someone else to read your book before you have it go out. And be open to people saying things like that. It's like, maybe you're going in a direction that's not beneficial to your readers, or that's not beneficial to anyone. Because certainly sometimes having angry book isn't necessarily beneficial to anyone. So, and if you catch yourself doing it, that's when you need to stop and say, what is it that I'm going through here that perhaps I need to deal with it or get unstuck in it or heal it, or whatever terminology you've got going, so that I can move beyond it before I complete this section. And there's all sorts of different ways of doing that. It's really getting present with what it is you're going through at the moment and saying, okay, what is it that's creating this, and what's my next step for letting it go? Because sometimes it's being aware of the fact that that's what it is, and then saying, okay, I'm willing to let it go. What's it going to take for me to let it go now?
Okay, hold on. Sorry. I got a call right in the middle of that. So one of the other things that we see a lot with books that perhaps you can help our readers with, or our listeners with, is people who are not vulnerable storytellers. How do you channel those really vulnerable stories out into the, whatever you're putting them into?
I always approach it as if it's a movie.
Wow, explain that, please.
I approach it as if it's not really me sometimes that I'm writing about.
Oh,
Or if it is me, I approach it as if I'm telling it like it's a movie. Like this is what it's going to be, so I can see it, like on the big screen, playing out. Uh, and actually being willing, and maybe that's not a technique that other people can use, but when you're really looking at it, be willing to be present with those feelings. Because a lot of times we get to the point where we'd rather avoid those feelings and realize that, okay, I'm only going to go through them for this book, and then I can let them go. I don't have to move in. I don't have to go back, move into that address and live there anymore. It's merely being present with it for this moment so that I can use it to heal me and help other people heal themselves. So that's how I look at going through it.
that's a really great perspective. And again, going back to what you said about having your friends read the book, one of my friends wrote an entire book, and when we read it as friends, we were like, wait a minute, where's this story and where's that story? And she was really hesitant to put those stories in, but after she rewrote and it was published, the thing that readers kept coming back to were those stories, because those stories really resonated with people.
Good.
So but does reliving those in the movie form kind of help you put it out without becoming overly emotional about it?
Sometimes, yes. And realizing that I don't have to live in that anymore. I was writing a talk, and I have with one of my coaches, and she said, well, you really need to have a story in this. I said, but I don't want to go back into that. She says, she said, well, just talk about it. And that's when I remembered, that's right, I don't have to live there anymore. I can merely relate what it is, what I was experiencing at the time, and then say, and I'm not in that place anymore.
Uh-huh.
So it was announcing it to myself that I'm not there anymore, and to everyone else that I'm not there anymore. And
Right.
that, so it shows that you can get beyond that. And that's the important part, is that you tell people it's possible to get beyond that when you're willing to let it go and willing to go down sometimes the paths that you don't want to go down, and realize you don't have to stay there.
That's really, really good advice on that as well. One of the things that happened for me with my third book, Granny Heist, was that I related childhood stories, and it was sort of a semi-family I don't know, it's sort of a family history, but with a lot of fiction in it. And it was
Mm-hmm.
very interesting because when my mother read it, she had two thoughts. First was, oh my God, everybody's going to know that's me. And and the second thought was, when she was going through it, she would query me about some of those stories. And she would say, that's not quite how it happened. So for me, that was a really good experience to go back and test some of those stories that I had told myself growing up. And so that was a real healing journey in that sense. It's like, oh, wait a minute, grandma wasn't like that, now was she? And it's so there's a lot to be said to healing your stories inside of books as well. With that, how do you recommend people heal stories like that?
Well, if again you can get a second perspective, or a third or fourth perspective on it, as to what really happened, because we're so good at filling in the blanks in our life, so that if we don't remember something exactly, we'll fill something in just so that it doesn't have a gap there. And that may or may not be what really happened. So when you can sit down with somebody and say, I remember this being the case, and then other people can say, I don't remember that at all. Or, oh yeah, I remember that. So that you can really look at what actually happened and how much of it you made up.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are very good storytellers, like you said. And sometimes that story isn't real. I mean, just look at how Like if you pass somebody in the hallway and you say hi and they don't say anything, how much of a story do you make up just about that couple of seconds that you have no basis for other than that the person walked by you? So your whole life is full of stories like that, and they may or may not be all factual. In fact, I would say a lot of it is not factual.
Especially those things I think you remember from your childhood as well, because
Mhm.
I've heard people say, oh God, my big sister, my little sister is so mean, and then you meet that person and you're like, yeah, they seem really nice to me, but there's something in that dynamic that you picked up from your childhood that just gives you, I don't know, a sour note or something.
Mhm.
It is one of those things to go back and really explore.
Right. And the other thing about the things from your childhood is that sometimes it's not even your memory that you're going with. You're going with what somebody else told you happened. And yet because it was so long ago, you remember a few things here and there. So then you take their memory and you fill in the pieces, you fill in the blanks, and it may not really be what happened at all for you.
Right.
So it's really looking at those things from your perspective and then from other people's perspective and asking, well, what is it that I really do remember? I mean, I have things that turned out to be that they were dreams when I started telling other people about them, and I had remembered it as if they were actual memories,
Oh, wow.
and they weren't.
That is so interesting. I don't know if you met Carrie Keller. Oh, you didn't. You weren't at CEO Space. There was a
Yeah.
gentleman that was at CEO Space who has a, a session every Wednesday night that the public can go to, and it's at dreamschool.org. And they actually talk. You're able to relate your dreams and talk about what those dreams mean. And it was very funny because I was trying to relate to him my dream about not cleaning my room and everything that was on my bed was a snake. And to hear some of those things be interpreted, for me that's very real. For a very long time I wouldn't go to sleep at night. I couldn't sleep because I was afraid the snakes would come back.
Hmm.
So it's amazing the power of dreams and what is real and what isn't from that perspective. How did you find out for yourself that those things you remembered were dreams?
Mostly in talking to other members of my family. And I would say, well, I remember it this way. And they said, I don't remember anything like that ever happening. And of course, they were in the memory.
Uh-huh.
So the fact that they didn't remember it was a clue to me that obviously that was not something that actually happened, because if two or three of them were in it and none of them remember it, chances are it didn't really happen.
That's very true. And unless you live in a dysfunctional family where nobody remembers it.
And that's a possibility too, but I felt it was a rather innocuous thing and probably it didn't actually happen.
Very cool. So give us some of your strategies for getting unstuck. What's coming up in this course that you are going to be giving? Because you put us through some great exercises on the ship.
So for the class that I'm going to be doing, it's called Reboot Your Boundaries and Relationships. And it's about getting out of those places where you're overgiving, where you're not taking care of yourself, and those sorts of things. And so what I start teaching people is to look at, first of all, what is it you would really like to have as your life and in your life? And how could you change what you're doing now to get there? What is it that you're taking on that maybe you don't need to take on? There are so many things that we believe are our responsibility, and they really aren't necessarily. We've just told ourselves that they are, or other people have told us that they're our responsibility. And it isn't really. It's simply something that we've decided that that's the best thing we should do. Or a lot of times I know that when I was growing up, one of the things that was big was it was better to be in service to others than it was to do anything else.
Mhm.
And you have to ask yourself, is that really true? If I never take care of me, pretty soon I'm on empty and there's nothing left to give. So where does that leave me? I mean, they have that saying, you put your oxygen mask on first, and it's not just about airplanes. It's really about everything else in your life. So when you're looking at getting unstuck in those places, it's to really start looking at the places that you're doing these things where you're not taking care of you, where you're not actually being true to you, and start looking at, where does that come from? When did I buy into that? Who taught me that? Is it really true for me? So I have exercises that I'll be taking people through, similar to some of the ones we did on the cruise, to really start looking at that and looking at how you've constructed your life. And is it really the life you'd like to be living? And is it really a life that contributes to you? Because it might not be. You may be simply running on empty now, and that's not a good place to be. I've been there. I know how that looks and how that works, and that's not really a good place to be.
Very good. So what it's really about, when we were relating back to the books and the energy and, getting stuck, is it's about breaking patterns.
Yes, yes, it is. It's all about letting go of those patterns, because we create these patterns and systems in our life, and it's almost like we're running on autopilot in places, because we say, okay, when this happens, I always do this action. When this happens, I always do this action. And we have all these things that take over, so we don't have to think about it, so that we don't actually have to be present with it. And when we can start breaking that pattern and letting go of those autopilot settings, then you can start getting to what you would really like to be having in your life.
Mhm.
So that, when you go back and you do action A, action B isn't necessarily there anymore. It's time to find something new to do. And that's what I help people do, is to let go of those autopilot settings so that you can actually create something completely different, and preferably something that actually is a benefit to you, that actually is something that you enjoy, something that nurtures you, something that lets you have the strength to go on.
Mhm. So I
So
think
you,
this is really exciting, because when I was talking about book 3, and that's where I really, like, when you were talking on the boat, I was thinking, like, this is exactly what I was writing. As I was writing book 3, I was seeing those patterns within my family. Now, I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that happen when you do that, because I was able to identify some of those things and do things differently. But boy, did I get a lot of pushback from
Mhm.
the other people involved, the triangulation that had gone. So I want to bring that up, because I don't want people to expect, oh, this is easy, I'm just going to do this and all will be great. There's really a lot of confirming that pattern, working that pattern, dealing with that pushback. And it, like, I guess the best way to say it is, it's going to get worse before it gets better.
It might. Now, it might not, but yes, you have to realize that once people have decided that that's the role you should be playing in life, then when you decide not to play that role anymore, yes, you may actually get some pushback from them. And again, it might not always be pleasant. And you've got to be willing to stand in who you are and who you would like to be, and start working with them. Okay, well, I can't do this anymore. It's just not working out for me. It's harming me. What can we do different that will work for both of us? And be willing to sit down and have an actual conversation with them. Because some people are so used to, oh, you're just going to be there and you're going to do this. They don't actually talk to you about it. They don't ask you if you'd like to do it. They
Right.
just expect it.
Especially when you're a mom.
Yeah, mom, don't watch this. Anyway, sometimes, yes. Sometimes and it can be from all sorts of different people. It may not even be your family. It may be friends. It may be people that you work with. And realize that people have these roles that they've decided you should play. And
Mhm.
once you decide that you don't want to play those, then you've got to actually start working with them and making compromises. And sometimes people will no longer be in your life after that. And you've got to be willing to realize that sometimes that's going to happen. Some of the harder things in my life have been to let go of the people who were really not creating what I would like to have in my life.
Mhm.
They were expecting me to be a certain way, and I didn't want to be that anymore. I didn't want to go down those paths anymore. And letting go of that, some of them I had to just let go of them And sometimes I say, and bless them in their mess and let them go on,
Right.
because sometimes that's what it is that that's where they want to live, and they expect you to be in the mess with them to keep them company, and you don't want to do it anymore.
Right. No, that is so true. I think it happens especially a lot with kids that, when you've rescued, like that point where you don't rescue anymore, you say, you know what, it's time you grow up. Go handle this. Have fun. I'm here if you need me,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to do it for you.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it for you. If you want some advice, I'll give you some advice, give you some help, but I'm not doing it for you anymore.
Some really valuable lessons in there when you do that for yourself. I just say that about moms because it seems like moms have the toughest time because we do so much for our kids, and we have to get to that point where we just don't do it anymore.
Well,
But
and with your mom, sometimes it's that you have to get to that point where you let go of what she has done for you all this time, and you let go of some of the things that she's expecting you to do for her.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it works both ways.
Exactly. I think where people will find this most beneficial though is when if you have toxic relationships in your life.
Mhm.
Sometimes we don't let those toxic relationships go because they're family. And we've been taught family is everything.
Right. And we've been taught, oh, I can fix this.
Uh-huh.
Maybe, maybe not. It may not be something that you can fix because it's not all yours to fix. And if the other person doesn't want to fix it or change it, then sometimes you just have to let it go.
Yeah. No, that really, really great points. Again, women do that a lot. They're used to fixing everything and keeping everybody happy and pleasing everybody. So this will be a
Yeah.
really great course for a lot of people. So
Yeah.
tell us, how do we get in touch with you for the course, and how do we get your book? I actually have the book sitting right here because out of it. I've had her cards, and she just told you a little bit about her cards, but here's her book. It's a great little workbook. I'm working in it every day. Um, and it's really great. It has a question of the week. It has, it resonates with the cards. It goes alongside with, things that you can do, just thought patterns. Like, what can I do for myself? Like, what are the 3 things I like about my body?
Yeah.
So
And
really,
like right now, between now and Thanksgiving, I'm doing a gratitude a day on the Facebook group, which is Gratitude for Life on Facebook. And I'm going to, at the end of it, every time you contribute, you get put into a drawing for one of my recorded classes. And it's about helping you to start realizing those things that, most people, they sit down to do their gratitudes. Oh, they'll write the same 3 things every day. It's like, okay, no, look at these other things in your life. Like you said, 3 things I like about my body, 3 things that made me laugh this week, 3 people I enjoy being with, or places I like to go, and realize how much that contributes to your life, because it brings you joy and happiness, and it shifts your energy when you do those things. And then that tells the universe, I enjoy this. I would like more of that in my life. And realize you can still say, and I would like more, and I would like more, and I would like more. And it's okay. It doesn't make you any less grateful for what you have to say you'd like more.
also,
So
that I would like more kind of tells the universe to bring it to you.
yeah, you're opening up, say, I'm open to change. I'm open to something different. Bring it on. So for my class, it's going to be an in-person class. It's in January. It's the 26th of January. So for those of you who would like to get a little bit warmer here and come to Florida for a class, I invite you to join us. Again, it's iampurpledawn.com/reboot-relationships.
Cool.
And you can register for the class, and it tells you some of the things that we're going to be covering. And again, I tell people it's for perpetual people pleasers, relationship rescuers, and family fixers.
There you go. And people who need to get through those problems to finish their books.
Exactly. Yeah,
That's
because when you do that, you're overstressing, you're not having boundaries, you're not looking at what it is that you would enjoy, and you're not looking at some of the things that you need to heal within you. And a lot of times, like you said, what you need to heal within you is what needs to be in the book.
Right, right. Well, thank you very much for being on today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. I really had a good time. I enjoy being on your call and enjoy being, we had a fun time being on the cruise together for a week and actually sharing a cabin next to each other.
Yes, it was almost like, I'm trying to remember what TV show was it? Was it Home Improvement, where you never see the guy on the other side of the fence? That
Yeah,
was
I think that was it.
us. Like, we would be sitting there and you guys would be there, and George would be talking to us, but we wouldn't actually see him. So I think the guy on Home Improvement's name was George too, wasn't it?
I don't remember what the neighbor's name was.
There you go, folks. There's a trivia question for you. Write in and tell us who was the guy on Home Improvement that you never saw. All right. Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you so much, Juliet.